when they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about.
What do you do, swim there? You know? And I was like, exactly, fuck right, you're exactly right. It's a stupid question.
Yeah.
Joy is a wonderful human being, and she should not be afraid that people are going to attack her because she said that
They asked them a question today, and I'm sure if you're of the type of person who just always hates the one team and loves what the other one does, they asked them.
The lights were bright. The audience was buzzing. Another morning, another episode of The View, and the hosts were locked and loaded, ready to fire off the usual blend of outrage, moral superiority, and narrative policing. But this wasn't just any guest they had invited. No, this time, they were facing someone who had long danced on the line between left and right, never afraid to call out the hypocrisy on either side. It was Bill Maher. And whether they realized it or not, they were about to walk into the lion's den, one they thought they had caged. You could see it from the first exchange. They tried the usual playbook. Maher used the word woke, and that alone was enough to send shockwaves through the panel. Instantly, eyebrows raised, voices tightened, and the subtle but sharp pivot began. Trap him, twist him, tag him with a label. Because once you're labeled, once you're boxed in, they can dismiss everything you say.
But life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is
about the swastika on the cap.
Well,
she does not think that all, as you said to me in the break, you do not think that all the people.
They asked them a question today, and I'm sure if you're of the type of person who just always hates the one team and loves what the other one does, they asked them a.
Maher, he wasn't playing that game. I didn't say it's ruining everything, he clarified calmly, when accused of blaming the world's problems on wokeness. I said that's why Trump could get reelected. Boom. A pin drop moment. And just like that, the narrative armor of the panel began to crack. See, what Maher did there was genius. Not because it was flashy, not because it was a soundbite, but because it was true. The crowd erupted. Not in chaos, not in anger. In recognition. Someone had finally said the thing that so many had been thinking, but were too afraid to say out loud. Because here's the thing about the word woke. It didn't become a punchline because the right twisted it into one. It became a punchline because the far left lived up to it. They took a once meaningful concept, alertness to injustice.
Question about the crash. They said, will you visit the crash site? Now, every other politician would go, of course, it was a tragedy. And he went,
it's hilarious.
For Trump or Nazis.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't.
I just want them to pay attention to words like vermin and poisoning the blood. And
when they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about.
And turned it into a purity test so extreme that even the most progressive voices couldn't keep up. Maher knew this. He's watched it happen for years. Watched as language was policed to the point of absurdity, as comedians were canceled over decade-old tweets, as people were fired not for what they said, but for what others felt about it. It wasn't the right that bastardized the word. It was the left's own overreach that did it. Sunny Hostin tried to spin it, calling out Maher for using a term she said was rooted in the black community, a term meant to symbolize awareness and social responsibility. But Maher, ever the tactician, didn't take the bait. He agreed. That was a good thing. It was a great thing. But words migrate. And then, with surgical precision, he cut through the fog. Call it whatever you want. Call it the super far left. It's not the word that's the issue. It's the behavior. And right there, the tables turned. You could see it in the way Hostin shifted in her seat, how she avoided eye contact as she tried to salvage the point. You could feel the energy of the room shift as Maher asserted what so many feel: this new brand of politics isn't about progress, it's about performance. It's about power. It's about fear. Sensing the conversation slipping away, they summoned the queen herself, Whoopi Goldberg, like a final boss in a game they thought they were winning. With her usual fire, she launched into a dramatic defense of a sacred progressive rituals, masks, mandates, public behavior. She wasn't just attacking Maher, she was defending the cause. But this wasn't about science or health. It was about obedience, about narrative, about
a question about the crash. They said, will you visit the crash site? Now, every other politician would go, of course, it was a tragedy. And he went,
silencing dissent in the name of moral superiority. But Maher didn't flinch. He didn't raise his voice, didn't get flustered. Instead, he did what he always does, stood calm in the storm. He pointed to the facts, to reason, to how emotion is being weaponized, how discourse has been replaced with dogma. And the crowd? They felt it. Because truth, even when whispered, hits harder than a shout. And then karma, irony, whatever you want to call it, struck. Just days later, Whoopi herself found her foot firmly lodged in her mouth, claiming on air that the Holocaust wasn't about race. The backlash was swift. ABC suspended her for 2 weeks. The media lit up with criticism. The very mob she defended turned on her in seconds. To many, it felt like poetic justice. But Maher, ever the contrarian, took the high road. He didn't gloat. He didn't cheer. He defended her right to speak, even when she wouldn't extend the same courtesy to him. And in doing so, he showed the true difference between them. While they play for the applause, Maher plays for the truth. But Whoopi didn't take the lesson. She didn't reflect. Instead, she doubled down, brushing off Maher's support like it never happened. Gratitude? Not in her vocabulary. Instead of seeing a rare olive branch, she treated it like a slab. Because in her world, disagreement isn't discussion, it's betrayal. And then came Joy Behar. You could almost hear the groan from the audience before she even spoke. Another attempt to shame Trump supporters, to draw lines in the sand. This time it was over language, words like vermin and poisoning the blood. And suddenly, all Trump voters were being edged dangerously close to Nazi comparisons. But Maher wasn't having it. He leaned in, not with fire, but with clarity. He looked Joy in the eyes and told her not to be afraid. Told her that calling people Nazis, even by implication, wasn't just inflammatory, it was irresponsible. And more importantly, it wasn't what she believed. He reminded her of what she had said off-air, that she didn't think all Trump supporters were Nazis. And yet, on camera, she wavered. That's what the mob does. It makes people betray their own instincts for the sake of applause. And that, in a nutshell, is what Maher exposed. Not just the hypocrisy, not just the contradictions, but the fear. The fear behind every take. The fear behind every forced smile and careful word choice. The fear of saying the wrong thing and being devoured by your own side. Maher didn't just survive the view, he exposed it. But perhaps the most stunning moment came not during the debate, but afterward. When asked about Trump visiting a crash site, Trump gave a classic Trump answer. It's the water. What do you want me to do, swim there? And Maher, he laughed. Not because he's a fan of Trump. Not because he agrees with his policies. But because he recognized something that so many in his industry still can't admit. Trump's authenticity, even when it's crude, resonates. Because while every other politician gives a scripted, sanitized response, Trump gives you the real thing, for better or worse. And that's the moment Maher understood. Trump, flaws and all, is not the problem. The problem is the echo chamber, the censorship, the groupthink that punishes dissent and rewards compliance. And in that moment, Maher crossed a line. Not a political line, a tribal one. And once you cross that line, there's no going back. Because Maher doesn't play for Team Red or Team Blue. He plays for Team Truth. And that's why this moment matters. Because we're living in an age where comedians are the last truth tellers. Where the people paid to be funny are the ones exposing the fakery. And when someone like Bill Maher walks into The View, a show that has become the unofficial pulpit of the woke elite, and flips the script, that's not just entertainment, that's rebellion. So as the applause fades, as the headlines shift, remember what really happened. A man walked into a room full of people who thought they had the moral high ground. They tried to shame him, silence him, spin his words. And he didn't just survive, he dismantled them. Not with rage, with reason, not with volume, with clarity. And that's what made the crowd erupt. Because in a world full of spin, sometimes the most radical thing you can do is just tell the truth.